I don't know how you, Netanyahu, claim you have the best intelligence in the world, Mossad.
Frontline has learned that under a top-secret program codenamed KK Mountain, the CIA funded Israeli covert activities in Africa with a budget of up to $20 million a year.
You didn't know that on October 7th they were attacking?
So, when it comes to exposing Israel?
If I am to prepare the war against Israel completely, no, I don't want very many Army, Air Force, and the Navy, just very few, and strike inside Israel and move people from the whole border towards Israel. I think the situation will be very difficult and very different.
You strike from inside with paratrooper or?
With the paratrooper, with everything completely. Yes, because you got to get there by paratrooper and also bombing by airplanes.
Crimes in America and illegal, basically espionage, if not military operations, policies, whatever you want to call it, to target American civilians.
I mean, that's sensible. But it's all good. You know why? Because in time of war, you need extraordinary measures.
Israel also served the CIA's interests in Africa.
During World War II, there were lights out, people would knock on your door. However, just want to make the point, the notion hit me all of a sudden. I saw 10 or 15 people marching with like peace, love, white, middle-class kids who probably believe in the notion that don't go to war, don't take out these people, let's have a conversation.
Israeli operations in Black Africa in the 1960s. These operations were quite extensive because at the time Israel had relations with about 30 Black African countries and was involved in a lot of things. And as it turned out, this was all financed by the US government.
They were saying, make love, not war.
With various forms of diplomatic violence, to be polite.
They wanted to happen, so they had a reason to take them. They wanted a reason to take the land. I told you.
One product of this relationship was the man who would become the dictator of Uganda, Idi Amin. He received military training in Israel.
And they killed their own citizens. And they claimed that all these people got... That was bullshit. They claimed beheaded babies. That was bullshit. Everything that they said was a fucking complete... Not only was it a lie.
Or outright terrorism. Again, terrorism being using fear or the motivation of fear in order to advance political agenda or religious agenda. Okay?
But they committed all those atrocities themselves to the Palestinians have been caught doing it. In fact, they just got caught gang Palestinians. You know, how many babies have they killed? All the things that they accuse the Palestinians of, or Hamas or whatever, they're guilty of 100-fold themselves.
Critical military installation in the area. Despite the defensive efforts, 4 ballistic missiles impact around the Iron Dome site. One of them lands a direct hit on the complex, causing significant destruction.
Israel has placed its command and control centers underneath hospitals. I'm not making that one up. That happens to be the truth.
תראו את האנשים.
אימא'לה, מה קורה בסורוקה? טירוף מוחלט. הכל שבור. זה לא אמיתי מה קורה פה. הכל שבור.
So and they've been doing that. Like, October 7th wasn't the start of this.
Like before October 7th, when the United States attacked them, I think there was a huge opportunity.
We go forward with it. We have the right to use any and all means in our disposal, academically speaking.
The notion hit me all of a sudden, what would happen if somebody just dropped some anthrax in the middle and they sort of caught it? What would happen to the point of view? The question being that when you,
Just launched a hate crimes investigation. It's allegations that a man threatened to blow up Zoran Mandani. Told him, check your beat with tuning terrorist. Drop BP. Okay, you don't want to say that, I can't be honest. If they're saying now, I'm reading comments, it's likely to be big charge.
What?
Yeah, they're going to blame us. They should. They should. They're going to do a fucking threat.
So it said check your fucking Viva BP. Yeah. Also, you fucking didn't take Gutierrez. I mean, bigger.
You're very right. I think that's what it is.
It's so different. What they're doing to John right now is so different what you did to Gutierrez.
I have a feeling they're going to want to kill anything very soon after that. Right. So do it the Israeli way, folks.
Sure, this was not, but they've done so many disagree. Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah, so I mean, this is not like, it's not like October 7th is like, just all of a sudden they just came over there unsolicited and just killed people. Like, they've been killing Palestinians for years and years.
Over the course of the civil war in El Salvador, Israel has been the second most important source of military supplies for the government side, after the U.S. When human rights violations cost El Salvador its American military aid for a period after 1977, the Israelis were on hand to fill the breach.
Operating two sets of justice, you know, like, they have the justice for the Palestinians and the justice for the Israelis.
But Israeli officials insist they set standards for customers of Israeli arms.
We do have limitations, and there are definitely conditions and cases where we have not sold.
Give me an example.
I'll give you an example. If we are asked, for example, for arms used for internal, in order to use it internally against a population that is not that does not lack its own regime, for example, whether it be anti-riot or tear gas, whatever, we haven't sold it.
But in Guatemala, across the border from El Salvador, Israel has been heavily involved in the business of internal security.
If you read the Talmud, if you're not Jewish, you're basically not a human. You're like cattle. If a Jew is killed by somebody that's not Jewish, then it's the death penalty. If a Jew kills somebody that's not a Jew, then you can't kill them.
The Ten Commandments gives you the guideline: do not murder, and the truth is that is exactly the definition. Murder is illegal, or more precisely, immoral killing, because there is moral killing and immoral killing, and you cannot. And by the way, malice aforethought is the biblical definition. If that's California, unknown to them, they are using the biblical definition in the Torah, which is where all these laws are located. Says if he lies in wait, that's malice aforethought. So that was that. I hope that bails you out. Anyway, thank you, and I'm honored that you're using my commentary.
So
there's a massive amount of fire coming to Tel Aviv right now.
Missile exchange between Iran and Israel. There was a moment when Iran.
You need to get ready to pull it off the sticks. Get off the sticks. All right, let's go. Time to go.
It's considered the Mossad headquarters in Israel, and it's supposed to be a clandestine location. And a Fox News reporter went to the scene because he didn't know about what the location was. And as soon as he got there, he was literally chased off aggressively by Israelis because it turned out that was the Mossad secret agency.
You answered this one. Do you really want to become the conspiracy party? Because it wasn't that long ago. It was like, oh, they're the nuts who believe in the crazy conspiracy stuff, and we're the sane people. And now I see Schumer is doing something called the Rule of Five. Never heard of this, but it's something that he can invoke to get them to release the Epstein files. They're having town halls to kind of fan the flame. Is this where the Democrats should be going with this?
Well, totally not. But, Trump has more pictures with Epstein than with Melania, so there's something there, right? And listen, there's something there, right? Well, he's clearly worried about it.
He's on tape saying he grabs pussies. The other guy's a pimp. They're going to be friends.
Well,
That doesn't mean he did anything.
I mean, look at the chronology of.
And I can tell you that it was a very sad scene to see. The first location that we got to in a very populated neighborhood of Tel Aviv.
They were taking women and children out of this building. You could just see the fear in the eyes of these kids. They didn't know what was going on. They just heard the explosion as their parents were waiting with them in bomb shelters. A lot of damage there. But then we made it to a second site, and we were live on Special Report talking with Brett as another missile attack took place. And when you saw the damage at this second site in the suburbs of Tel Aviv, it looks like an entire block was wiped off the map. At that location, Israeli police tell us one woman was killed and at least 20 were wounded. As we were there, rescue workers were digging through the debris, and every once in a while, they would have everyone be quiet, and they would call out, looking for survivors under the rubble. They had a thermal drone overhead to see if there were any people that were still trapped, and then that missile attack took place yet again, and we had to run for shelter going into the basement of an apartment building, and then there were explosions outside so strong they were shaking the street. This is what the Israeli people have been dealing with tonight, as the Iranians are directly targeting both military and civilian facilities in this country, sending nearly the entirety of Israel into bomb shelters. And Sean, tonight we are getting reports out of Iran about explosions just east of the Iranian capital of Tehran, an indication the Israelis are once again striking back against the regime, targeting facilities just outside of the Iranian capital.
So my point is this. This is a military installation. They call this the Jewish Federation or Foundation or some shit like that. But this is a military fucking installation.
Nuclear weapons. And I'm tired of using euphemisms. I'm tired of saying, well, we have something, in the basement.
And this is set up. The property, interestingly enough, the properties on both sides of it are now completely vacant.
But we won't be the first to introduce nuclear weapons in the Middle East. It's enough already. I said, no, let me bring you back to October 1973, during the Yom Kippur War.
And so my whole point is, you guys better understand, when Jews think that they're offended.
When Henry Kissinger instituted an arms embargo against us. And what happened?
They justify killing people that are non-Jews.
I see now. This is really the truth behind all truth.
Mr. President, honored delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we meet here in an hour of grief and challenge. Dag Hammarskjöld is dead.
Israel also served the CIA's interests in Africa.
The meditation room. Dag Hammarskjöld had it built.
But the United Nations lives. His tragedy is deep in our hearts, but the tasks for which he died are at the top of our agenda.
Under attack by commie Nazis.
So let us here resolve that Dag Hammarskjöld did not live or die in vain. Let us call a truce to terror. Let us invoke the blessings of peace.
An A4 Skyhawk was parked at Tel Nof Air Base with some interesting weapons under its wings.
And Jews think that it's offensive that Americans do not obey their commands and give them all the money they want to kill Palestinians.
And we told the Americans to take their eye in the sky and take a good look at the airplane that's on that runway.
So let me just tell you, a military operation is coming, and in L.A. is going to be fucking coming out of here.
In other words, we threatened their...
We threatened to use unconventional weapon. I'll leave it at that.
That's the motherfucking... And the funny thing, too, is security guards are Mexicans. That's what I find is hilarious.
And so he said, is this what you want us to threaten now? I said, absolutely, except this time I want us to go forward with it if necessary.
That's the face of it. But just so you know, and this also goes with the hospital too. So again, with Jewishness, all their accusations are admissions.
Today, Israel is defending freedom in the Middle East and beyond. We're doing so against a tyrannical and radical Iranian regime that wants to build atomic bombs to destroy us and wants to build ballistic missiles, including intercontinental ballistic missile, to be able to threaten anyone and everywhere in the world. By defending ourselves, we're also defending others.
So they're bombing hospitals, saying that they're using hospitals for military installations, right? And then they get exposed that their entire military operation is being run out of one of the biggest hospital in Israel. for that reason. What else? Oh, they say they're using human shields. Okay. Oh, they say they kill babies. All of these things we've discovered are admissions.
That if you push anything far enough, it's going to flip into the opposite form.
So, what was one of the biggest? And now the problem is, if you think that admission only applies to Gaza and Israel, that's my point. They don't just turn it on and off.
Holocaust education is absolutely essential, but I think it may be confusing some of our young people about anti-Semitism because they learn about big, strong Nazis hurting weak, emaciated Jews. And they think, oh, anti-Semitism is like anti-black racism, right? Powerful white people against powerless black people.
They don't just think like, oh, well, since we're over here, we're going to do it differently. No, that's not how the Jewish psychology works.
So when on TikTok all day long they see powerful Israelis hurting weak, skinny Palestinians, it's not surprising that they think, oh, I know, the lesson of the Holocaust is you fight Israel. You fight the big, powerful people hurting the weak people.
That's a contradiction. The Jewish psychology thinks, I am here, I do whatever I want, and anybody that tries to stop me is a threat to me, no matter what their justification is. And therefore, I have the right to defend myself. And they're even in Jewish law, to show you how crazy this shit goes. In Jewish law, this is in season 3 of Godfather of Harlem. They have a character playing a Jewish FBI agent investigating. And he says, nothing controversial in the sense, but he says in Jewish law, we have a system, in Jewish law, we have a law that says if there are two men and there's only enough water for one drink left. Now, this is theatrics, kid. One drink left is, obviously open for interpretation. But they're trying to imply, religious rhetoric is always trying to imply like complete nobility, but it's always the reverse. It's not talking about a cup. It's talking about a reservoir. It's talking about a lake. It's talking about a river. It's talking about a water source. So he says in Jewish law, it is permissible for a man to deny a fellow Jew a glass of water if there's only one drink of water left, which is basically saying there are avenues that allow for activities that will end in the death of a fellow Jew. Okay?
There's a stand down order. 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. Wow. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say, stand down?
But that's the extreme for them. The non-Jew is the norm. So the reverse message, that's the message for the Jew to the Jew. But the reverse message to the Gentile is if you want to make sure that you're never put in a situation where you got to worry about picking between you drinking and another Jew drinking, make sure that you got all the Gentiles' water, and then you won't have to worry about it. Let them worry about it. And if you think that's over-exaggeration, consider that in California, over my lifetime, I was born in 1978, just two Jews, it's a married couple, the Resnick couple, they have wiggled their way and maneuvered within the California economy to take control of over 57% of all of the farming rights of American Gentiles. And so when we were going through droughts and farms were being shut down, California American farms were being shut down, Gentiles, these Jewish private equity and venture firms were the ones based in Santa Monica, for the most, that's the capital of the United States for venture capitalism. They were going in there and swooping all this fucking shit up. Then the Resnicks lobby Feinstein and Boxer, who were both Jewish senators for my entire life, just until recently, and got them to subsidize all the water rights to their companies so that not only were they getting more water than everybody else, but they were also not paying for it.
Look, Father, I have to, man. Jordan's getting banged up out there, and I gotta pull a relief for the rest of the game. I have to.
Mr. Monarch, sacrifice is a virtue. If you recall, Abraham was ready to snap his own son. This boy's just your nephew.
The Gentiles were literally paying for all of the, and still paying for the Resnick's water. And these people have over $2 billion, and they have expressly stated that their primary agenda for their business model in California is to focus, hyper-focus, no matter what the cost, because they don't care about California. They have a Jewish agenda, a Zionist agenda, and that agenda is to attack the Iranian economy, which is very, a critical component of Iranian economy is pistachios. So even though pistachios are not conducive to the environment, growing the environment, ecological system of California, this is why they need all those water rights, because they need more water than other farmers to grow a crop that isn't conducive to our environment. And they know this.
His conspiracy. The Jews do it on purpose.
How do you think he died? You've been quoted as saying you believe it may have been murder. Do you still think that?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely.
Why are you so sure?
I would never, ever think differently. Because first of all, Michael told me that they were going to murder him. He was afraid. He was afraid for his life. Who was going to murder him? The people that were involved in his life, the people that were controlling him. We shared that same life where people come into your life, wiggle their way in, control you, manipulate, control your funds, your finances, everything that you have, and you must do what they tell you to do.
See? So, when you understand that and you stop, that's just the beginning. But like if you were to stop that, that's what I'm trying to say is you don't get it. Jewish people don't see that it's criminal that they got to that level. They see it as the only crime that they can perceive potentially, even potentially, is the idea of taking something away from one of them. That's it. That's the best way to say it.
Exploitation of the man. I'd like to hold a press conference and talk about the exploitation.
When you're trying to judge them harshly, then you judge their white counterparts.
I think it's unfair because it didn't begin with Don King, Barry Gordon,
but maybe
Bob
it
Johnson.
Got worse.
Think about absolutely.
You don't think John
Think about Little Richard and the problems of R&B artists from the 40s and the 50s. I mean, they were cheated. What you have when people put on their careers?
They were legally cheated.
It's very child psychology, me, us, mine.
Right. And then today they're still legally cheated, but they have unequal bargaining positions.
No, you're right. Listen, there is such a thing as legality, and then there's morals and ethics. Unfortunately, morals and ethics are not entirely the same thing. So everybody has to do their own due diligence. Unfortunately, the more educated are going to have an advantage when they talk with somebody who's uneducated. And if I want you to sign over the show right now where I can own all the masters, there's nothing wrong with that, Bill. You should be able to do that, and I should be able to own everything. And I'm sure before the night's over, you will.
That's the height of a Jewish thought. And their rhetoric is that because they claim, again, this is all fake, because they maintain this shit through child abuse. Genital infant mutilation is child abuse.
Think about it. The Hispanic community is 19% of the U.S. population.
Yeah.
The African American is 15% of the U.S. population. The Jewish population is 2%. And all the minorities, MBDA, billions of dollars of grants since 1969 when they established the Minority Business Development Association under the U.S. Department of Commerce. There's hundreds of programs and billions of dollars of revenues and grants and all different contracts from startups to big companies who are eligible, including banks who are obligated to give specific amounts of loans to minorities that Jews were not included in.
Yeah.
And no one understood it. And people always voicing frustration. Jews are always the underdog. And it doesn't make sense. Like 2% of, we're the biggest, smallest minority in America, you know? And we had no voice. We had no eligibility to access our taxpayers' dollars as the biggest minority and the biggest suppressed people.
So, but they claim that The only reason they're like that is because they're such a tight-knit group.
They're very protective of themselves. I don't think anybody can debate that. I don't think it's not the problem isn't that they're protecting themselves. The problem comes when you think that you're better than other people, and you think it's okay to lie to anybody that's not a Jew. You think it's okay to steal from people that are not a Jew. You have two sets of standards.
That cares about each other so much. That's my whole point. Rhetoric is always rhetoric.
The problem with that is it allows you to rationalize anything, right? Human beings are generally self-serving creatures.
And rhetoric is always based on thinking.
So if your fundamental religious belief system allows you to operate in such a way that you believe there isn't consequences to stealing from other people, killing other people, being kids that are under 9 years old, like if you think those things are okay, then how are you going to operate? Because to me, like, my moral code keeps me
and wants to build ballistic missiles, including intercontinental ballistic missile, to be able to threaten anyone and everywhere in the world.
And thinking comes from the psyche.
By defending ourselves, we're also defending others. We're defending our Arab neighbors, our Arab friends in peace. We're defending Europe. We're helping defend also the United States, which helps us all the time in our defense. This is an important mission. Right now, the Iranian regime is bombing our civilian neighborhoods while we are targeting the terrorists. Now, this is not new. They've tried to assassinate President Trump twice. They bombed American embassies. They killed 241 Marines in Beirut. They killed and injured thousands of Americans with their IEDs in Iraq and Afghanistan. They burn the American flag. They chant endlessly, "Death to America." Our enemy is your enemy.
And the psyche is vulnerable to ego.
And by doing what we're doing, we're dealing with something that will threaten all of us sooner or later. Our victory will be your victory.
And when ego, like fucking cancer, starts infecting the psyche, it alters the freaking mechanism so that the psyche ends up creating projections that are self-destructive. And so these people say, we don't like anybody else because we only like our group. But the way they treat their group reveals, that's what I'm trying to say, reveals that's not true. That's just what they want to say. That building.
Family. If you weren't aware, in 1965, Nuke, who was run by Zalman Shapiro, keep that name in mind because Ben Shapiro, they somehow lost 100 kilograms or 220 pounds of highly enriched uranium. And for those of you who know what uranium is used for, the US government review found that Nuke had the single largest HEU inventory loss of any US commercial site. Hundreds of pounds of uranium just vanishes. Nuke had 269 kilograms of HEU inventory loss, which is material unaccounted for, before 1968. And then get this, another 76 kilograms after 1968.
The Samson option is Israel's deterrence strategy of massive retaliation with nuclear weapons as a quote-unquote last resort.
Yeah, they're blame us. They should. They should. They're a fucking threat. So let's check your fucking beat with BP.